Well, hello, everybody. It's Dr. Hank, and welcome to Agent Wealth Success. And you know what we do here, that we help real estate agents, professionals, brokers, loan officers to build their business and their wealth. In fact, we have an amazing way now for real estate agents to make money on the mortgage side, up to $2,500 without having to do anything. So just exciting times in the world today. And today, though, that I just have a really remarkable, kind man, and it's Mark Dolfini. And Mark, welcome to our show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and you're in the Marines. I was in the Army, so I appreciate your service, and just awesome. You have also written 3 real estate books, and I love one of them is The Judge, a Landlord's Tale, and then we'll get into a little of that. But for everybody out there to know that, first of all, we both thank you for coming and showing up, if you will, that you will, I guarantee you, you will get some magic dust put on you, that you'll all of a sudden get, an idea, a thought here that's going to really ignite you and ignite to build your business and build your wealth, because that's what we're here for. And, money equals freedom. And one of the reasons why we're here is for more freedom. And money also represents a beautiful way to exchange energy and to be able to give our services. And so I want all of you to have lots of money, and I know the exact path on how to do that, and so does Mark. So, Mark, if I can, that, I really like that in your you have an exclusive VIP method of how to create a real estate business, focus on life output. And can you talk to us a little about what that means, and maybe anything else that you maybe think we should talk about before we understand where you are there?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for your service, because I don't want to gloss over, you were Army, I'm Marines. As long as we're shooting in the same direction and not at each other, I'm good with that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, my brother. So welcome home. But the other thing that I, in terms of the vision infrastructure process method is something that I feel really, really strongly about. And you'll see that as I get fired up, because I feel it already, just the energy that flows through me when I talk about this, because the vision infrastructure process method was really something born out of desperation. And I would love to say that, I bought my first rental property, and then I immediately went to the Ferrari dealership, bought my first Ferrari, and it was just a skyrocket from there. Unfortunately, I'm not the kind of person that was born on the 3rd day of the month and called it a triple, right? I definitely struggled. So the VIP method really was born out of some struggle that I talked about in the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0.
Okay, great. And so can you tell us, I just love being a hands-on and really giving a lot of value to our audience and everybody out there. And so what would you say that, and I love that you brought up that you had contrast. So in other words, and for everybody to know that Mark actually has about $40 million worth of assets, either under management or he owns. So he's very successful in real estate. But we all have to have this contrast, and all of us have gone through contrast. And I basically, the definition of contrast is things we don't want, didn't want, a deal going south, the business not getting started, the business not growing, whatever that is. And so can you share, what is your probably biggest contrast that actually was a blessing, because all contrast becomes blessings when we look at it, long term, that what was your greatest blessing on contrast that you experienced in real estate?
That is the best way to answer it. Mark, tell us about your most abject failure. I love it. So my Titanic, my Deepwater Horizon moment, Hindenburg moment was, I was in the middle. I had built a $6 million portfolio basically from scratch.
Wow.
And I know there's many people who are watching the show that are interested in buy and hold investing because they're sick of the hunt. They're sick of the, going out and eating what you kill. And I know there's a lot of real estate agents that watch this show, a lot of brokers that watch this show, but that passive income is nice. But when you don't create an infrastructure and process, all you've done is just substituted another job. So that's exactly what I did. Is I bought myself. I had this $6 million portfolio that I had built with a hodgepodge of creative financing and wheeling and dealing, and I had these 92 rental units. And by most people's measure of success, they would have thought I was crushing it. Right? I'm bringing in $65,000 a month, and I had the house, the cars, and all the things. But what they didn't know is I had created hundreds and hundreds of little jobs for myself, with the leasing and the showings and the opening of the mail and answering, the phone, which was just absolutely relentless. Over. And this is even before text messaging was really a big thing, right? Back in 05 and 06. But so I created hundreds of little jobs for myself. And, skipping ahead a little bit, what happened when 2008 came along, that $65,000 a month went to $30,000 a month. And there's just no way I could weather that storm. It was just too severe. And so I worked harder. I ended up working from 12-hour days to 16 and 18 and 20 hours a day. Maybe some of your listeners can understand that.
Yeah.
And that getting into that real estate hustle and doing it. But unfortunately, that lifestyle catches up with you. And as a young man at 37 years old, otherwise healthy, I got sick, which is no surprise. Right. And I ended up getting double pneumonia in the hospital, and I almost died.
Yeah. So and that actually because we've been all taught, you got to work hard, and so basically most people have been swimming upstream. And none of our desires are upstream. And that's a perfect example of how this upstream that, you were working with from 12 hours a day to 16 hours a day. And really God was telling you, your higher power was telling you that, hey, this isn't how life is supposed to be. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves. We have plenty of time. And in fact, if you look and analyze time, we all have plenty of time. Like you can take 60 hours a week and take your sleep, and you'll still have 40 hours, left in the week. So we all have plenty of time. However, we have talked, and me being a mental scientist, we have talked ourselves into, I'm too busy, I don't have enough time. And so it was just God's way, if you will, of saying, hey, you're swimming upstream and I don't want you to swim upstream anymore. So here's, kind of what, so we'll kind of wake you up. And so what did you do then? So that's what you didn't want. And when you woke up, you turned the other cheek and you said, here's what I want. And how did you go about doing that? How were you led to the promised land, if you will?
So it's a little bit of a story. I'll try to tell it quickly, but you're lots of biblical references that are ringing my bells, man. I love it. Yeah. It was really one of those things where there I am laying in this hospital bed, and my whole world, not just my business world, but my whole world was circling the bowl, because I had a relationship that was circling the bowl, like I said, and that because I wasn't putting any time into that. Right. Health was a mess. My business was a mess, and all of those were the cumulative effect of all the decisions that I had made up to that point. Yeah. And so it was funny. I'm laying in this hospital bed, and I will never forget this. This hospitalist came in, and she said, you need to look at what's going on in your life, because people who look like you, and she meant young and healthy, don't sit in hospital beds like this with double pneumonia.
Wow.
And that really resonated with me. And as I was sitting there, and of course I've got all this stuff swirling in my head, I couldn't answer myself. I couldn't do anything. It was all on me at that point.
She was an angel. She was an angel, that nurse, wasn't she?
I'll tell you what. Well, 2 more angels came in that day, and it was really funny because they had a lesson to teach me.
Yeah.
It's really funny because as it relates to the VIP method, I'm sitting there with all these thoughts of, I've read Michael Gerber's E-Myth, and of course it's like, okay, I got to systematize, but what does that even look like? I have no idea. So everybody's been telling me I need to get help. I need to get systems in place. But, what was help going to do? I mean, I didn't have any infrastructure or process. Walking them into a room and yelling, do work, and then running away wasn't going to fix the order of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So as I'm laying there in the hospital bed, this little nurse comes in, and she says, I need to give you a shot in the stomach. To which I replied, you need to work on your marketing. So you got to sell that better. You are not giving me a shot in the stomach. I said, well, what's this for? And she said, well, it's Coumadin, I guess, and you're going to be laying in a hospital bed for the next couple of days. We don't want blood clots to form in your legs. I said, well, this thing you got me hooked up to is on wheels, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, I can get up and walk around, right? And she looked at me like I was asking her to explain Michael Jackson to me. And I was like, she's like, well, yeah. So she took her needle and she went away. Not long later, another nurse came in with another needle, which I just hate needles to begin with.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I said, well, what's this for? I gotta give you a shot. I said, this at least wasn't in the stomach this time. I said, I gotta give you a shot. I said, well, what's this for? She said, well, it's because of the prednisone that we have you on, the steroid we have you on. It's messing with your blood sugar, and we got to give this to you to get it regulated. I said, well, I'll tell you what, how about I just don't eat sugar today or any carbs, and we'll see if it's in the morning. If it's still high in the morning, you can give me the shot. So she takes her needle, she goes away. Now that might have seemed somewhat innocuous of like, well, you're just, taking care of your health. You're just, watching out for yourself. But what were the nurses doing? The nurses weren't being told to do this. They were operating on a system.
Yeah.
They were operating off of a process. And I thought, wait a minute. So all of the things that were swirling around in my head at that moment in time, they all landed in three basic buckets of what was wrong with basically everything in my life.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I had all of my processes that were up in my head. Everything was in my head. If someone called, I knew who they were and I knew what their issue was. It was all of it was in my head. And many people who are listening to this who are self-employed individuals, and you don't have a business, you're not a business owner, but if you're self-employed, you know what I'm talking about. It's all in your head.
All right.
Then the next piece is, even if I did have, and I alluded to it earlier, even if I did have help, I didn't have anywhere for them to go. I didn't have anything for them to work at or even on. Like, I didn't have computers or desks or chairs or an office or anything, right? I didn't have infrastructure. So I didn't have process. I didn't have any infrastructure. And finally, when I realized really, what am I doing this all for? I didn't have any vision in terms of what I was doing this all for in the first place. Why this? I'm not an idiot. I mean, I had a college degree in accounting. I could have gone to work that field, and I probably made more money and definitely got more free time. But why was I doing it? So the vision for my life in terms of what I was doing this for in the first place was not clear at all. So that's how, again, vision, infrastructure, process, and it has to go in that order, because the vision piece is really what you're doing this all for in the beginning. Once that's well defined, then you can put your infrastructure in place, and then the processes that all run in alignment with the infrastructure and your vision.
Awesome. So that's very clear. And so let's look at each one of those just a little to give somebody an idea of maybe how they would go about doing this. So on vision, just a brief little, how could you help us right now in order to have a clearer vision on what we want to do?
Absolutely. And usually when I talk to people who have done some vision work, like, no, I'm clear on vision. And then usually after a few minutes, I poke some holes in it. And not because I'm trying to poke holes in it to be mean or to be right. But it's because when your vision is challenged, it's like, wait a minute, maybe it's not as clear as I once thought. Because that vision has to be super, super clear, because guess what? Real estate, is awesome as it is, there's a million ways to make money in real estate, right?
Right.
The problem is there's a million ways to make money in real estate. And because real estate is such a distractible and distracting business, it's easy for one guy from one week to go, well, I'm a wholesaler. And the next guy the next week is, well, I'm going to get my real estate license. And the next week he's a buy and hold investor. And the week after that, he's in Bitcoin. Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute, and I don't even know how the Bitcoin space invaded real estate, but whatever. But
it's coming.
It's coming. I know. Whatever. But my point is that when you have an absolute clear vision of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and I mean so clear it's obvious, that it's as obvious as what you ate for breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
You can still, taste the coffee on your breath, right? It's got to be that obvious, and it doesn't have to be 5 or 10 or 20 years in the future, because you can hide inside activity, right? Or hide in inactivity, right?
Yeah.
And say, well, that's 5 years away. I don't have to do anything today.
Right.
Right? So what is something tangible that you could live a clear vision? Now, just to get some ideas that people get
Yeah.
often confuse goals and vision. So if I can hit on that
Yeah.
real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Goals are just the waypoint along the way to your vision.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Hank, if you and I are going to jump in a car and we're going to drive from Detroit to Key West, Florida, and our vision, our collective vision, is to sit on the beach, in some beach chairs, watching the sun go down, drinking some cold drinks, right?
Yeah.
That's a clear vision for what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our waypoints along the way from Detroit might
Yeah.
be Indianapolis, Chattanooga, Atlanta, right? As we meander our way down through, through to the west.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere between Indy and Chattanooga, you say to me, you know what, Mark? I have this really cool friend I knew in the third grade who lives in St. Louis. Why don't we go hang out? Man, he is hilarious. We should go hang out with him for a few days.
Yeah.
So not only are we backtracking,
Mm-hmm.
we're taking a 90-degree turn off of our vision, away from our vision, to go chase this other goal.
Right.
Okay? So the goals are just the intermediate waypoints along the way to your vision. Now, again, the vision could be, now my vision for getting out of the hospital was get healthy, live, right? It was a pretty easy vision, right?
Yeah. Cool.
So that's how. So I would encourage people to take a vision that's a bit of a stretch, but not so far off in the distance that it's easy to hide in activity.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that, and I think for everybody there that to write down this, and it'll get you started on vision. And basically, what we all want, and so write down, I want a long, happy, healthy, and wealthy life.
Great affirmation. Absolutely.
Long, happy, healthy, wealthy life. Yeah. That if we start there, and then you can, be looking at, hey, my vision is to do luxury homes and to and other visions on, I want to, if you're an investor, I want to increase my portfolio to where I have, 200 doors or 200 properties or whatever, it would be. But do you agree that that would at least be a good start for people to be wide enough, general enough to be able to then kind of decipher out of that, what would I want? What are your thoughts on that?
I like the direction in the terms of the mindset that you're going, but I would change it just a little.
Okay.
Only because I think vision is specifically about what we are here for.
Okay.
What is it that you want out of like, again, did God put you here to manage 200 doors? No. God put you here because you have this very specific gifts. And that's again, my vision is about my God, my gal, my sons, and my guns. Like, I'm pretty easy. Right? I'm a pretty easy guy. But and they all relate to those four areas of my life. So my vision, what I would say is, what is it specifically that you want? Because the infrastructure and process, that's just the vessel. If you woke up tomorrow morning with $300 million in your bank account, are you going to say, oh, no, sir, I didn't get that through real estate, so you take that money back? Said no one ever, right?
Right.
So if you woke up with that kind of money, what would your day look like from day to day? Because you probably still would want to do something constructive, something productive. Right. Even if you are not calling it work, but to someone else, it might be work, right? Like, I would probably still work with that kind of numbers in my bank account, but because I know what my real vision is. So what I would say to you is, I would challenge to say, what is it you want that has absolutely nothing to do with business, that has everything specifically to do with you? And I'll give you a really quick example that's in the Time Wealthy Investor 2.0. That's the last book.
Okay.
So something I refer to as what's called as anticipated joy. Anticipated joy. Okay. So for me, I think back to when I first met my bride. Okay. And we were getting ready to go on a hot date. And I'm remembering, especially the first date that we had, as it was leading up to those moments where we were going to get to hang out, right? We were going to get to see each other. And I remember thinking, like, that tingling in your hands and that knot in your stomach, that anticipated joy of something that's really amazing in your life. And I still get that with my gal. Like,
that's great.
Truly blessed.
That's great.
So what in your life brings you anticipated joy? For some of you, it's discovery. For some of you, it's going out and travel and seeing new places or having new experiences. For
Mm,
some of you, it's just watching your grandkids. For
yeah.
some of you, it's other things. But what would replicate those feelings of anticipated joy for you? And once you get those answers, that needs to be part of your vision.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And just to share that my vision, and it has held steady. It used to be things like I wanted to be the best dad, and build $1 million business and become a millionaire, and independently wealthy and whatever. And that was very helpful because it gave me that direction, and I knew where I was going on that map. But now, because I am in that situation where I really don't work, I just play. And again, some people may think like this is working, this isn't working. Oh, I love sharing this good news and all your wisdom, Mark, with all of our folks here. And but my vision has been to help myself and others become our greatest possibility.
Oh,
And
man.
so as I look at that and I put myself first, because I can't help others until I help myself. And so I help myself and others to become our greatest possibility. And that just rings my heart. And that's, what just makes me want to get up in the morning. And then I'm directed, because of that, I'm directed to be around awesome people like you and attract awesome people like you and helpful people like for the audience to know that I asked Mark, what do you want out of this? And he said, really, I just want to have a really honest, down to earth talk up to, maybe 90 minutes, even if I can help somebody. It's like, oh man, I love that. That is just, and whether it goes to some place, or not. And so, could you talk a little about that, Mark, on what you do want and what your offer is here to be
Oh,
able
sure.
to, yeah,
Yeah. So and to go, hopefully we can circle back around to the rest of the VIP method here.
yeah,
But this is really, really, really important because the vision piece is almost always where people think that they're great and they're not. Usually they're not as good as they think they are, and only because I've had these conversations literally thousands of times with people. And it's a pretty rare occurrence when someone's that spot on with their vision. Like their vision is written down, they
yeah.
know exactly what it is, and I'll say, okay, so what kind of revenue number are you looking at? Now your listeners are gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be ready for him, right? Like they're gonna be, when they say, well, I really want $20,000 a month in passive income,
Yeah.
which to me is the Miss America answer. It's okay. If you told me I need $19,214.12 each month, that's told me something.
Right.
That's told me you've thought this through. And
Mm,
you know exactly what it is that you're wanting. You know exactly what's going to deliver the next part of your vision for you. Because again, vision is like a V, right? You want the narrowest part of your vision first, and then the more well defined and narrow that is, the more likely it is that you're going to get it and get it quickly.
yeah.
And the reason why this isn't so much about information but transformation is because all of these limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors that we as self-employed and business owners frequently engage in.
Mm,
And the self-sabotaging behaviors are things like, allowing yourself to get distracted, those lingering self-doubt and things like, you know, uh, basically having spending money on things that you haven't even earned yet, or allowing yourself to get back in debt when you've already paid off debt. All these self-sabotaging behaviors that come up,
yeah.
that many, or taking time that isn't earned yet, like you're taking time off that, or you're buried in activity, right? You're so busy you can't do the important things, or you're buried in inactivity. You've got so many things to do that you don't know what to start on, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things are self-sabotaging, self-punishing, self-defeating behavior that I've
Yeah.
come to recognize not only in myself. This is not judgment. This is confession. So I totally get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it. But that's really where I feel I can help people the most, because
Wow.
while I feel that recognizing that those behaviors exist, it's
Mhm.
often not enough. It's often, I know I shouldn't eat that chocolate cake, but I'm going to go ahead and eat it anyway. Right? So
Yeah.
that's why, freeing that mindset, being aware of it is definitely important. but
Yeah.
not just being aware of it, but also what to do about it. And that's generally what I can help with when I talk with people.
Wow, that's powerful. And I just love that. And so how would they, again, it's a free session up to, 90 minutes, whatever. And how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you, Mark?
I'm on all the the social medias, so it's not hard. But Mark Dolfini, you can reach out to me for send me a friend request on Facebook. Although I'm getting a little lean on, I think they Facebook caps you at 5,000, so I'm probably getting close to that. Or just give me an email at mark@landlordcoach.com. I'm not going to add you to a list unless you want to get on my mailing list. But
what was the email again?
Mark MARK @landlordcoach.com.
Okay. Great. That sounds super. Well, I appreciate that. So we have a few minutes left here, and with that, and I love this whole idea of vision, and also as I can tell on your energy that you're starting to get into this now. That you're loving on. Hey, we have these self-sabotage things, and you can help them, and not eat the chocolate cake, but do something else. Make the call to the prospect or whatever that to replace that. So I love it. And I know there's infrastructure and there's process, and for sure the clear vision comes first. Can you just talk a little about infrastructure and then process in the next couple of minutes before we close it?
Absolutely. So really the reason why vision has to come first is because you want that well-defined, because you're going to be building an infrastructure and processes that's in alignment with that vision.
Yeah.
So, for example, if your vision is to lay on the beach for 2 months out of the year, rubbing cocoa butter on your belly, it's a great vision. Maybe not a great visual, but a great vision, right? But if you're setting up an infrastructure that's going to require you to return emails and phone calls in a timely manner, that's going to be a terrible experience for you when you're trying to lay on the beach rubbing cocoa butter on your belly, right? Yeah. So the infrastructure is really, it's all the desks, the chairs, the software, the computer systems, it's all the basic stuff, but it's also your asset class selection. So as an investor, if you're looking at asset classes, whether that's single family dwellings or multifamily or parking garages or whatever, self-storage units, it doesn't really matter, but it also includes the asset class selection, because you need to set up an infrastructure that's appropriate for that, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's the infrastructure. The last piece of it is the process, and the process is simply how you do stuff. Now, as a military guy, you know what an SOP is,
right? Standard operating procedures.
That's right. So the standard operating procedure, the SOP, is really about how you do stuff. So that's the stuff that you might learn from the gurus in terms of, they might have some really, really, really good stuff about how you do a thing. And that might really resonate with you. And you're going to put those processes in place that will run on the infrastructure that you built, that all stays in alignment with your vision for the future.
That's beautiful. I just love it. And, I love also, like when you were talking on the infrastructure and looking at the asset class, and like if you haven't looked at what asset class that you have, my counsel to you would be to, what have you been involved with? What do you seem to enjoy? And so, it might be storage places, it might be single family, it might be, whatever that is. And it doesn't matter where you are in there, whether you've had any experience, as long as you're feeling good about that, if you will just have that as I'd like to and ask, it's about this asking. And so asking, I'd like to get into this part of, real estate. Right. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's luxury homes or whatever that you want to do, new home builders, whatever it is, that if you ask, I promise you, God will answer and the Father will do the work, and then all you have to do is receive. And so I love the way, Mark, that you defined on that infrastructure, because literally the world is ours and all we need to do is choose. And you really have a structure on how to have that clear vision that will guide us, and then the infrastructure, and then finally the process to do that. So that's super. That with a couple minutes left, that what would your counsel be? Any last thoughts, that any counsel, any wisdom, words of wisdom from you that we'd love to, any thoughts that you think might be helpful for us?
Yeah, I think it's probably best to just kind of understand, people ask me, well, what's your why? Why do you do this thing versus, if you're making so much money in real estate, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And it's because I really feel that, you know, there's too many people whose marriages are not working. And
Right.
there's too many marriages that are failing. There's too many missed baseball games from parents to their children, and too many missed events, too many missed life events. And I went through all of that stuff, and I've got a 13 and 15-year-old at home with me and my
Oh,
bride, and we
no.
have we're so blessed, and those are the things that because I have time freedom on my calendar and time wealth, that's what drives me, and that's why I really feel that I'm being called to do this, because it really, there is too much emphasis on going out and doing the hustle, right? Especially in the real estate realm,
Yeah.
that the hustle is almost embraced, like it's, wow, look at you, you're working so many hours, good for you.
Right.
And I'm hoping to help shift that mindset somewhat. It's not about being lazy, but it's about being focused and about having the time to focus on the things and recognize and have that white space on their calendar and be able to recognize what your real gifts are and why you are here.
Boy, that's great. Love that. Yeah, what gifts you have, why you are here. And again, I'm taking notes, and I hope all of you. I got a whole page full of notes here that on your wisdom, and I appreciate it. Well, Mark Dolfini, that we thank you so much for being on. You have 3 books: The Judge, A Landlord's Tale, your both the exclusive VIP method that you have, that you're offering a free session with you for an hour and a half. And I think we could all tell that you really are sincere, that you've identified what is your vision.
So my vision right now.
Yeah.
I part of my vision is to have a closer relationship with my God, and as a I'd say, well, that doesn't really sound super clear, but it is to me.
Yeah.
Without getting into too deep, but
Sure.
as a result, I'm reading the Bible from front to back
Yeah.
in the year, right? And that's part of my goals. I attend a Bible study, that show that I watch every morning, but
Yeah.
also to have a closer relationship. For example, part of my vision is to have a closer relationship with my gal, with my bride. And
Yeah.
as a result, we have lunch every day.
Wow,
Um,
that's great.
Actually, you're cutting into lunch hour, which is she's running home. She ran home to get lunch, and we're going to have lunch together. We have lunch together every day.
Oh, how
And those
sweet.
pieces of those things, like have a close relationship with my sons,
Yeah.
sending them to a faith based school is very, very important. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be, like, if it's a little heavy religion on, but this is what's important to me, and that all
Yeah.
of those pieces of my vision all come together and coalesce into
Yeah.
one very clear vision in terms of what it is that I'm looking for, and it has really very little to do with real estate.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That I went to 4 years of seminary school. I'm an ordained
Okay.
minister,
Okay.
and I went there because I wanted to figure out this God thing.
Yeah.
I just that every pulpit was saying a little something different,
Yep.
and so I discovered, and I have that clear understanding now that for me, and one of the easiest things for us to recognize is that God communicates through us with our feelings. And so when we feel bad, we're not thinking about whatever we're thinking about like God is. And when you follow your feelings like that, and so people call it intuition and my gut feel, on that. But as we follow that we can be on that lighted path and the light of the world. And so I just love on what your vision is. And I'm right there with you, my friend. And so I appreciate you. And to all of you out there that reach out to us, we're here to help you become your greatest possibility. We can help you in real estate or marriage or whatever it is that we want to help you. And Mark, I thank you so much, and with your expertise, I think you can help a lot of us to have that vision and to be able to achieve it.
Well, Dr. Hank, you're too kind. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. It's truly by God's hand. So thank you for everybody, and I appreciate the time.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you. And everybody, God bless, and know that everything that you want is coming your way. Love you.